Hey, thanks for coming back to the channel. In this video, we're taking just a quick look at the SoundTools cattails. These are the break-in, break-out fan adapters for sending audio over Cat5, 6, or 7 shielded cable. And these are really nicely made. They're a great addition to the Cat box that we already took a look at. Well, the boxes are very helpful for things like stage drops. Needing additional cables to complete the patch at either end can be limiting in certain situations, and that's where these cattails come in. When you're working with rack-mounted gear with XLR inputs and outputs, patching into digital snakes, for instance, is a really popular thing these days. The cattails just make it that much simpler to be able to deploy them directly to where they need to be. It's really nice to have something like 4 inputs to a 4-channel amplifier on a disconnect that can be moved from rack to rack depending on the job and not be a custom built-in panel that takes so much work and resources to put together. This is just a really nice simple way to be able to disconnect a whole amp rack and like wheel it out of the way if something comes up physically, locationally on a smaller job. Those are really helpful. So let me go ahead and set up a little demonstration. Look at this. We're going to look for channel 1 here. And these are really nicely, I don't know if you can tell how nicely silk screened those are on camera here, but it's a nice large silk screen number on all of these. And these are genuine Neutrik connectors, and just really nice addition there, having that big silk screen. It's easy to see even in the dark, and I have a lot of trouble with that, with the really tiny numbers on the cable that rub off with use, and then, you know, a lot of times it'll be a numbering system on here that gets scratched away. So it'll be nice to see how long this lasts, but I haven't scratched it yet, so that's something. So we can take the output. We're going to use the SoundTools network cable back into our input here. They make a really nice solid connection there, no play at all in that, using the SoundTools cable, that is. So with that all hooked up, let's fire this up. And I'm in line level, in phase, that's great, and perfect. Let's try channel 2. In phase, good. Channel 3. In phase, looking good. And finally, take a quick look at channel 4. Looking good. So just a few specs about the cattails, very similar to the Cat boxes we looked at before, identical in what you can use them for. So you can send up to 4 lines of audio down Cat5, 6, or 7 shielded network cable. I've been using the Super Cat cable from SoundTools, which was developed specifically for live entertainment, stage use, and can handle that kind of stuff. It's very robust. The tails themselves are compatible with analog audio, obviously. You can also do AES digital audio. You can do DMX, and you can also do intercom, ClearCom intercom systems work perfectly fine with this. They can be utilized as a low-cost splitter along with the boxes. Again, the way these work, in case there's any confusion, if you plug something into channel 1 on your first box, that'll show up on channel 1 here, and then if I use that pass-through to connect up another box, that same signal will show up on channel 1 here regardless of the gender of box I use. It could be male or female. Whatever's on that channel is going to show up wherever you connect one of these boxes. So it can be used as a good low-cost splitter solution that can solve a lot of problems. They're really, when you start thinking about it in that way, they can solve a lot of unusual routing problems on real gigs. Now these units do of course support phantom power, and the way I tested those was the same way I tested the Cat boxes when I first got them actually, which was to use them as a 2-channel snake for a lectern. But it's a really handy use case for something like this, and that's to have a dual channel lectern mic arrangement feeding into something that can be broken away quickly, and then a single cable can get under the stage or backstage easily, which can be a challenge sometimes on corporate work. So it's just a really handy implementation for a low channel count snake with a disconnect. Now each channel is isolated in the pairs, of course. Each channel gets a twisted pair through that Cat5 cable, and they're sharing the shield as the ground throughout there. So I would recommend, just from experience, if you have any unusual implementations of things like phantom power running alongside alongside of an intercom and a DMX line all in the same snake, I would definitely test it in your shop before you go and deploy that. But that kind of goes for any mult or cable loom you make up. I would give it a test with your specific equipment and make sure that it's responding the way you expect. They do work very well in a lot of different implementations, but I can't guarantee that they will work in every possible implementation that you might try them in. So definitely do your testing with any sort of cable loom, any sort of snake, especially when you're combining formats like digital AES and DMX on the same snake. It's worth testing that in a non-critical setup before you go out on the show. The likelihood with something like this of you cross-patching something where you don't need it is maybe a little higher just because of the flexibility is so high. So anytime you have that flexibility of being able to route anything anywhere regardless of the gender of the connectors, you're going to need to pay attention to where you're routing things physically as you connect these up. Not something I'm really concerned about, but I feel like it's a good thing just maybe to mention. The attention to detail in assembly is just exactly what you'd expect from SoundTools. The strain relief does a really nice job of keeping these cables from shifting around or putting any tension on the solder joints. They've done heat shrink here to protect from the strain relief biting into the cable. That's really nicely done. Then they've done a nice job with the cable management and making sure that the soldering is clean and those cables aren't under tension entering the solder points. This just generally looks to me like something that was made by somebody who intended to use it in the future and wanted to make sure that it would actually work. You can definitely tell something like this from a mass-produced item. It's a really nice job on these, and that shows through when you go and yank around on the network cable as it's plugged in with tone or with phantom power connected, and you don't hear any side effects of that.
Hey, yeah, this mic sucks. Oh man, tabletop microphones are the worst.
These things can take a pretty good beating. I was a little nervous at first using them with phantom power that if this got loose at the network connection, it would make all sorts of pops and crackles, and in my experience, that just isn't the case. I am curious to know if these get used a lot, whether or not that's going to continue to hold up. And that's a supply chain level above SoundTools as far as dealing with those kind of issues, because this has become a very much an industry standard connector these days. There's a lot of big systems out there using this exact same connector on both the cable and the panel mount end, so I would keep an eye out for issues and failures in that world as opposed to SoundTools' choice of using what is arguably the most respectable connector for this purpose in our industry. So we'll see how it actually works in this implementation as they get used more and more. Audio over Cat cable is becoming more and more common. It's been around for a good number of years. You know, that being said though, the difference with the SoundTools stuff is it's just made really well. These are really nice metal housing units. I feel like you could run over this with some pretty heavy machinery. I don't know if SoundTools has ever tried that with like a forklift or anything to test what these can hold up to, but it's just a really robust design. There's not a whole lot of failure points physically for this to get crushed on a gig. A really nice strain relief, so I'd be hard pressed to believe that this would get damaged from living on a job. The only chance I've really had to test these on a proper extended job, they lived under the stage, things got bumped into them, thrown on them, you know, people putting other equipment and running other cables and electrical boxes and things under the stage, and they came out with, you know, no real wear. They certainly don't look quite as nice as they did the day they came out of the box first, but you'd be hard pressed to tell they'd been used. Honestly, they're very, very nice looking. So that's the difference I've seen so far in these, is these are just built incredibly well. Now, they're not the cheapest option out there, and I think SoundTools is aware of that, but they're also not the most expensive. Right now on the website, these are listed at $120 per end. I think Radial has their Catapult system, which is somewhat similar. I'm going to take a look at those soon. Those are about $90 to $100 an end, depending on where I look right now today. And then there's some other options that go up to $150 an end, and some of those are from the likes of Elite Core, Horizon, and a few other brands that are coming out with similar type of arrangements. For the value you get, I think they're probably the best built ones I've seen so far, and I haven't seen the radial catapult system in person. Those are usually built pretty well, so I imagine those would be the closest contender to the SoundTools system. It seems over and over again that this stuff is designed and built by people who actually work on gigs, and it is. I know that's obvious. If you don't know Rat Sound, they obviously do this stuff every day.
May I have your attention, please?
So these tools are coming from that kind of perspective. This is not a paid piece. SoundTools does sponsor some videos on this channel, and they're awesome to do that, like the New Year's Eve video that had nothing to do with them. They were very cool to sponsor that and help make that happen. This is just a first look at a product that I really like from them, and they were nice enough to send these over. So not a paid review, just a first look, but I personally like these quite a bit. I'm actually going to give this set away to one of you. So if you leave a comment down below, let me know specifically what you would use the tail version for. Let me know something unique that these would help like solve a problem for specifically in your work, and I'll send them to you. So I think what we're going to try to do is announce the winner of the giveaway for these cattails from NAMM next week at the SoundTools booth. So jump down to the comments, be sure to let us know exactly what you would use these for, what kind of problem they would solve, what unique situation these would come in handy for in your work, and I will see if SoundTools will let us borrow their booth for a couple of seconds. Hopefully that goes well. If anybody's wondering, this is the Ptam G2 from Radio Design Labs. This is kind of like a Whirlwind Q box. It's a tone generator and an analyzer on the other side, and it's got a speaker. But you get the nice readout of the input level and phase relationship to the output without even needing that speaker. So pretty cool, different than the Q box, but taking a look at it right now just to get a feel for what other audio tools are out there that aren't so common. So more to come on this. Also, let me know down in the comments below how much you hate this new Lav Mic. Trying some stuff out before we go to NAMM. Exactly a week from today. It's Wednesday now, and we'll be there Wednesday morning next week if the planes are still going. I've had a bit of an issue with the shutdown here in the U.S., so hopefully the airplanes and security and all that will be sorted. Planning to do that, I've got a whole bunch of gear from DcSoundOp that I'm going to be taking with me, but planning on not being able to get the frequencies necessarily on the show floor to be able to use that wireless stuff. I picked up one of these Rode Lav Mics last time I was up in New York at B&H, and it's one of these like $200 kits that works with a whole bunch of different adapters. So right now I've just got it plugged into, I've got the XLR adapter on it, and it's just plugged into my Zoom H6 here, and that's just been in my pocket recording this whole time, so who knows how bad this sounds. I had some headphones on monitoring it earlier, but I didn't want to wear them during the video. Because I'm not a vendor there doing any official presentation, I'm covering the show like a media outlet would. I definitely can't rely on being able to use that DcSoundOp's wireless gear on the show floor, and I'm actually a little worried. They were nice enough to send over this stuff to let me take and demo and try out and share with you how it works. And DcSoundOp is actually involved in the show. They may have something to do with the wireless coordination, but I have no idea whatsoever if I'll be able to get the frequencies. I've got a 2-channel electro unit with belt packs and an ENG like microphone kit. And I've got no idea what the RF environment's going to be like out there, whether I'll be able to use that or if I'm just going to be stomping all over people who are actually supposed to be using wireless. So that may be stuff for off-site interviews. So this is kind of the backup, and I figured I'd shoot a video or two here. This room sounds horrible just listening in the headphones. This is a really bad sounding room. It's not treated really at all. That's why I do all the voiceovers right into a microphone close up in this room. There's also a ton of street noise. There's a main intersection out here, and in rush hour, you're gonna hear every ambulance and garbage truck and everything. So this year, 2019, is gonna be a big push for improving the audio quality on this channel. It's been something that's been driving me crazy for a while. This is a concrete ceiling, wall, and floor room. I don't really have the ability to treat it with anything affordable. And this past year, this YouTube channel, it's been a push to grow, and I definitely feel like audio's fallen behind a little bit across the videos. The consistency isn't where I want it, and just the quality on every production, being able to go and do something like a live event and know I have the wireless equipment. This is stuff I'm used to using professionally, but when you talk about bringing in $5,000 worth of electronics equipment for a YouTube channel, it's tough. It's really tough to know where to spend the limited budget to make videos happen. I've been trying to use the budget we have so far to do things like go to New York and cover Times Square and make sure I have a camera rig that's flexible and have storage so I don't lose the content I'm creating, and pay for a website and all the back end to that. And this year, 2019, audio is definitely going to be the #1 priority. And I'm fully aware of the irony that a lot of the videos I've put out in the past have compromises in the way I've recorded the audio, and it's a pro audio YouTube channel. It's not lost on me. I appreciate everybody's patience in not pointing that out repeatedly, but this year, yeah, let me know your opinions down below of what you think of how this mic sounds. This room sounds terrible, like I said, so try not to dwell on the fact that it sounds like a concrete box. It is a concrete box. These videos are made possible by viewers like you who support the channel directly through Patreon, PayPal, or using the affiliate links in the description below. Jump over to the website at DcSoundOp.com for more information about this and everything else we make videos about. There's always an accompanying page and all sorts of links and information that goes along with everything we talk about here on the channel.